America last? Come on. Americans apparently are doing the jobs that we were told they would not do. And Netflix, weirdly enough, has stood up to the woke mob and they won. All that and more. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. Hump Day is here. We are live on Rumble. And I hope you are joining us here. Welcome, Danny. Good morning. I asked Jack's teacher about that gingerbread. She said they got your picture, shared it with the class. The kids didn't quite understand the distance, but there were wows when she said it was on the other side of the world. Yes, indeed, I am on almost exactly the other side of the world. So, wow, that's great. Good news. Thank you for that update. Appreciate it. All right. Oh, man. Yes, I watched the State of the Union live last night, which for me is this morning. And following this State of the Union speech from President Trump, the White House sent out an email about the Democrats' disgusting response to the news of all the phenomenal success that we are having. Look, I get that they don't like every little single piece of Trump's bragging and what's going on, and they're not going to stand up and applaud things that they don't agree with. But to see them all sitting there, belligerent, stone-faced, when confronted by things that actually are good news for the whole country, no matter whether you are Democrat, Republican, Independent, Socialist, Communist, I don't care. Well, I do, but, for the matter of this discussion, it doesn't matter. It's good news for you folks. And it was frankly just nauseating to see these morons sit there. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Al Green. What was even more gross than their individual idiocies was the way they acted as a group. The White House statement let them have it in no uncertain terms, and they deserve every word of it. Here's what it said. Democrats showed whose side they're on, and it's not the American people. Tonight, President Trump delivered a historic State of the Union address before a joint session of Congress, proudly declaring the dawn of a new golden age after just 1 year of transformative leadership in his second term. In a powerful speech, Trump highlighted unprecedented accomplishments, a fully secure border, plummeting inflation, falling gas prices and crime rates, surging stock markets, 401ks, massive tax release for working Americans, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, bold actions to restore peace through strength throughout the entire world, speech of renewal and resolve, and yet congressional Democrats consumed by delusional hatred and obstruction refused to join in celebrating these victories for the American people. That is what the White House put out. The Democrats who did bother to show up would not even stand for the grieving families of people killed by criminal illegal aliens. Those who didn't even make an appearance were attending freak shows like the Democrats' counter to the State of the Union address. And this is what they were doing instead of attending that address. Literally hanging out with absolutely deranged leftists dressed in giraffe costumes and bragging about getting arrested by ICE.
I'm fresh out of an ICE prison in Minneapolis. I've been arrested 3 times by ICE over absurdity, over us being ourselves, over me singing songs like, "Hey, Mr. Tangerine Man, get rid of brown people for me. I'm Aryan white. There ain't no place I'm going to."
How proud a moment must that be for you Democrats? Isn't that nice? But this Trump 2.0 admin, they keep the receipts. They're not about to let these idiots forget about that despicable behavior. This list is long, but that's because the Democrats' list of things that they don't care about is very long. Reaffirming the first duty by the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Grieving families of innocent American women and children murdered by criminal illegals, including the mother of Irna Zarutska, North Carolina woman savagely killed on the public transport system by an illegal alien monster. And yet, these scumball Democrats refuse to stand in honor of this slain innocent woman.
Released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget there were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal, set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to arrest her.
How do you, exactly, how do you not stand? And it continued. Look, I warned you, it's a long list. Securing our homeland, finally ending the invasion by these savage criminals, killers, rapists, gang members, traffickers, with the strongest border in American history, prioritizing American citizens over illegal aliens. Not a bad idea, All that, look at this. Let me actually switch over to this page here and let me show you. Look at this. Here's the list. Keeping violent criminals locked up, protecting minor children from the horrors of irreversible sex changes, warrior dividends for our great military heroes, massive economic growth, total victory over terrorists abroad. That's just a few. Unbelievable list there. These are the things the Democrats apparently don't think matter. They're not excited about it. They couldn't care less. If you're wondering what they do care about, well, all you have to do is look at Biden's disastrous tenure during his 4 years of absolute oatmeal-brained idiocy. Instead, the things the White House laid out in that tally list that I just showed you, priorities, open borders, radical gender theory under Biden, exploding costs of living, weakness on the world stage, declining cities, and abandonment of what should be our energy dominance. Democrats continue to expose themselves as the America Last clowns that they absolutely are. And there was never a better example of that than what happened last night. You know, all throughout that speech, I kept hearing this woman screaming. And first of all, I was thinking, why hasn't someone removed her from the chamber or told her to shut up and pipe down? But I watched it on ABC because they seem to have the most cameras, so they would cut away to different things. Some of the coverage was terrible because it just had one camera on Trump and it never cut away, which sucks. You don't get the reactions. So I was watching it on ABC. They never showed whoever this idiot person was screaming and yelling all throughout the speech. Until at one point they did, and it turned out it was this brother-marrying piece of absolute crap, Ilhan Omar. They have had a complete meltdown into a puddle of rage. President Trump's State of the Union speech got an extra amount of heat when he relentlessly called out the Democrats for supporting sanctuary city policies, refusing to stand for the American people over criminal, illegal, alien, literally refusing to stand. The president challenging Democrats to affirm their support for the American people over illegals, and they just couldn't do it. The principle? The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Doesn't get much more fundamental than that, folks. But President Trump stares him down for nearly 2 full minutes, including that absolute scumball, the now embarrassed and defrocked Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. He does his best to stare back. It ain't working, Mark. Nobody cares about you anymore. We know you for the piece of absolute crap that you are. Being seated and having the misfortune of closely resembling the sloth from the Goonies made his gaze a lot less intimidating. Take a look at this.
So tonight I'm inviting every legislature to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Look at that. Every single one of those Democrats seated. He's just milking this for all it's worth. There's that scum Kelly. I love that head shake. What a look on his face. They won't do it. They just simply won't do it. And he wasn't done. Another point during the speech, he called out the Democrats for supporting the sanctuary city policies, criticizing their disgusting behavior. Set off Omar and Taib, reduced them to a molten polyclastic flow of pure rage. But then, what else would you expect from someone, Taib, who showed up to a nationally televised presidential speech wearing an F-ICE pin? Trump said, "You should be ashamed of yourself for not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself." Exactly right. Exactly right, Mr. President.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens.
Look at her. Look at her.
Murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Absolute disgrace. Man. This is what happens when you invite classless trash to a public forum. They didn't even know how to react. "They're killing Americans," Taib shouted. "You're killing Americans," echoes Omar. Reporters in the gallery said, and it wasn't on camera, that Ilhan also yelled to Trump, "You're a liar and a sick F." Classy, Ilhan. Very classy. Speaking of which, pot, meet kettle. Unbelievable. Let's stop talking about these scumballs and talk about some of the amazing, honorable things that did happen last night. Trump announced the Medal of Honor, the Legion of Merit, and the Medal of Freedom Awards at the State of the Union, honoring America's 250th birthday with praise for World War II and Korean War heroes, high honors to brave Coast Guardsmen and a gold medal-winning hockey player. The President crowned it all by awarding two very rare Medals of Honor. Even managed to shame a few Democrats into standing up for the Olympic men's hockey team. Won the gold, of course, for the first time in history. A miracle on, actually since the Miracle on Ice, not the first time, but it's been a long time. Mostly it was Republicans who applauded them. Other patriots that Trump specifically invited and praised. The President honored a helicopter pilot who displayed unbelievable courage during the capture of Maduro. Got severely injured. Eric Slover receives the Medal of Honor from Trump during the speech last night. There he is. What an amazing, amazing American. Legendary Navy pilot Royce Williams, 100 years old, finally got the recognition he earned a long time ago in the famous Korean War dogfight. He was the second Medal of Honor recipient. Absolutely beautiful moment when his face burst into the biggest smile. Unbelievable. National Guardsman's rescue swimmer Petty Officer Scott Ruskin did his uniform proud. His rescue mission after the Camp Mystic flood victims saved over 150 girls, including Millie Kerr, who was there with him at the address. Got the Legion of Merit. unbelievable night and a whole lot of reasons to be proud of America and all the good people that make up this country. All right, a rather interesting story about Americans who seem to be taking jobs that people said they wouldn't take. Well, surprise, surprise, they're taking them. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. First, though, it's the best coffee on the planet. Oh, Blackout coffee. Get your extra caffeinated kick in the ass with Blackout coffee. They've always got specials over there at Blackout, so use that link down there in our show notes and check out Blackout coffee. Look at this one, a 48-hour loyalty event. You will get 2 times the reward points on every order. So if you need to refill, if you need to go back, or maybe you just want to try it out for the first time, get yourself a single bag, try it, and you will be back. I promise you, you will be a loyal Blackout coffee fan. All these roasts are available also in ground, so not just roast beans. You can also get the grounds. They've got pods, instant, cold brew, all that good stuff. You can build your coffee arsenal with a subscription, which is a great idea and a great way to save some big bucks. Flavored coffees that are incredible, absolutely delicious. You will love them, I promise. Find your roast. Mine is right there, pitch black espresso. And just place an order. They only roast your beans after you put your order in, which means they're fresh roasted. And then if you want them ground, you can have them ground. They ship them out within 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. They're on their way to your doorstep. And you've got the best fresh roasted coffee using only premium beans on the planet. Really, folks, you got to try them. We will be back for more, I promise. It's just that good. There are always specials going on, including this 48-hour loyalty event happening right now at Blackout Coffee. Check it out. Be sure and use the link in our show notes to get over there and put your order in. And don't forget the code J20 when you order, JAY20. That will get you 20% off your first order at Blackout Coffee. Thanks, John and the gang at Blackout. We really appreciate your being a partner here on the show. Help to support this show and support this American company, Blackout Coffee. Maryland, surely not American citizens. I'm sickened by their disgusting behavior at the State of the Union. I can't even stand to look at, see, or hear anything they have to say. From this day forward, they are a disgrace. Is anyone who stands with them. Brava, you are exactly right. It's an absolute disgrace. All right. Americans appear to be doing the jobs that we were told always they won't do them. Reliance on foreign labor in Texas is way down. You know what that means? Americans are taking the jobs. For decades, we've been told that Americans need foreign labor. We have to have these people, illegal or not. They've got to do these jobs because Americans won't do them. Democrats, the left, that usually translates to illegal immigrants. But in the wake of Trump's closing on the southern border and the deportation of hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, turns out there are plenty of jobs that Americans are willing to do. And a new survey seems to be bearing that out, at least in Texas. New survey by the Federal Reserve Bank in Texas shows that many companies in the Lone Star State are reducing their dependence on foreign labor. The survey, which was taken last month, February 10th and 18th, between those dates, shows a 20% decrease in workers from foreign countries. That 20% is up from just 2% in February 2024. Within the last year, only 13% of companies had increased their reliance on foreign labor, which is down 41% from 2 years ago. Still plenty of work to be done to reduce the dependence on foreign workers. 68% of companies said they showed no change either way. The problem is there are still a lot of loopholes that allow construction companies to hire illegals without a whole lot of risk, honestly, including hiring subcontractors, staffing agencies who mistakenly claim their workers are legal and are allowed to work when they're not. But the flip side of this good employment news is that a lot of companies actually demand the government supply them with cheap foreign labor so they can get around and get a labor market that is increasingly favorable to American stability and Americans' ability to bargain for benefits, avoid investing in any new or more productive techniques or technologies. Now, home builders in Texas are pitting Trump's illegal immigration crackdown, including raids on job sites, against his goal of putting the purchase of a new home more within the reach of Americans. And they're doing it by warning Trump that the GOP could lose a lot of the inroads made with Hispanic voters. Johnny Vasquez, executive officer at the Rio Grande Valley Builders Association, pointed to Hidalgo County, which went red for Trump in 2024. One of the gains Republicans might lose. He said bluntly, "For me and our association, we need workers. Whether they're American or not, we just need workers." A White House spokesperson, Abigail Jackson, said, "There is no shortage of American minds and hands to grow our labor force. President Trump's agenda to create jobs for American workers represents this admin's commitment to capitalize on that untapped potential while delivering on our mandate to enforce immigration laws." A lot of reports saying that Trump's America First policies are increasing pay for all Texans, including Hispanic Americans. December 2025 report said the current labor shortage driving unprecedented wage increases across commercial projects. Fantastic. One of the biggest deterrents to illegal immigration is cracking down on those people who hire them. Yeah. So the quest for Johnny Vasquez may well be, are you saying there's a correlation between Hidalgo County going red and whether you hire Americans or illegal immigrants? Now, like anywhere else in the U.S., with the possible exception of the blue states, the less foreign labor there is, the more jobs there are for American workers. Goes without saying. And what's keeping Texas and a lot of other states very red. Good. Good news all around. Can't be beat. Unbelievable. Oh, Vanderbilt. We win again. This is a sign, my friends. This is a sign. Vanderbilt is going to stop offering transgender surgery for adults. Oh, yeah. Look, you're an adult, you're over 18, 21 in some states. You do what you want. You're a big boy, you're a big girl. I think you're an idiot, but do what you want, as long as you're not harming anybody else. As long as you are not harming anyone else. Most of the transgender debate has surrounded restricting so-called gender-affirming care to minors. But legal adults, you do you. Hormone treatments, surgeries. But with the federal government and a lot of states restricting taxpayer dollars from funding youth transgender surgeries, hospitals that offer that service, a lot of them are now closing their doors in order to protect their funding from Medicare and Medicaid. It's also produced a rather chilling effect on the less lucrative adult transgender surgeries. Vanderbilt University Medical Center, VUMC, Tennessee's sole provider of adult transition surgeries, has decided to discontinue the practice, citing operational limitations. First occurrence of a hospital closing out its adult wing for sex change operations. And there's a good chance, hopefully, it won't be the last. Discontinuing surgeries for transgender adults, the latest announcement for the Nashville hospitals after a series of escalating concerns about their care for LGBTQLMNOP plus patients. Vanderbilt signaled this big change through a series of small incremental changes. They stopped their trans surgeries and puberty blockers for minors back in 2022, when the Tennessee legislature first passed the transgender ban, which held after the Skermetti decision. 2025, Vanderbilt closed their LGBTQ health clinic, so the handwriting was on the wall, very plain, that they were looking to the future and not seeing the potential risk of offering these surgeries to adults, which would outweigh any sort of reward. 22-year-old Fox Varian, a female who identified as a male when she was 16, underwent a full mastectomy, successfully sued. We told you about this. She won a $20 million settlement against the surgeon who performed the surgery and the psychiatrist who convinced her and her parents that this was the right thing to do. Prominent detransitioner Chloe Cole suffered a similar fate, has her own lawsuit pending against California doctors who transitioned her starting at the age, oh my God, of 12. Not even a teenager yet. According to legal analysis, it will not be just how the children are affected. It could open the door for adults who transition and then choose to detransition. In some cases, when it involves surgery, not going to happen. Even the possibility that victims of transgender killers like Audrey Hale could see this as a path to liability. Think about that. It is a mess. Vanderbilt said, we ain't going there. We're not doing it anymore. Good on you, Vanderbilt. Good on you. In a related story of absolute stupidity out of Colorado, Danny says, I think the parents should be held accountable. If it's a child, you're absolutely right. They ultimately have the responsibility. The highest rated therapist in the world couldn't convince me to mutilate my kids. Bingo. Listen to this. Oh, man. A Colorado bill would take kids away from parents who refuse to transition them. Yeah, you heard that right. It is a bill for the entire state of Colorado. Legislators there supporting requiring courts to consider whether parents embraced a child's gender identity when they determine custody. The Democrat, no surprise there, Democrat state legislators want to force transgenderism on parents. You don't have a choice if this bill passes. You gotta do it. Requires them to affirm their child's gender identity or risk losing custody of your children. Are you freaking kidding me? Radical lawmakers have introduced this bill called Concerning Legal Protections for the Dignity of a Minor, which could not be more of a misnomer than I can think of. Dignity of a minor. The bill referred to the full Senate February 18th. In its intended form, the bill requires a court to consider whether parents embrace their child's gender identity when determining custody. Courts have to favor parents who support their child's preferred name and pronouns and push their child to receive this harmful, damaging transgender drugs, hormones, surgeries. You're basically, whether you agree with it or not, you're being forced, or you will lose custody of your children. Colorado. The bill says courts have to consider whether the parties recognize the child's identity as it relates to a protected class, determining parenting time and allocation of decision-making responsibilities. Defining the protected class, they reference the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, which includes an individual's sexual orientation and gender identity. My God, what have we come to? While the bill is trying to regulate custody disputes, it also opens the door for courts, child protective services, to remove transgender identified kids from the custody of parents who believe in biological reality and don't want to irreversibly harm and mutilate their child with drugs and surgeries. Yeah, you think? This bill would establish de jure, which is already happening in Colorado and other states around the country, even in red states like Indiana, Montana, Texas, Arizona. When Krista and Todd Kolstad's 14-year-old daughter landed in a Montana hospital for suicidal thoughts, her parents had no idea they would lose their daughter. After Kolstad's daughter revealed her desire to change genders, she's 14. Montana Child and Family Services removed her from the custody and relocated her to a treatment facility in Wyoming, which, coincidentally not, focuses on gender therapy. Likewise, Mary Jeremy Cox lost custody of their 16-year-old son for refusing to affirm his gender identity confusion. The Indiana Department of Child Services, using biologically incorrect pronouns, argued that Cox's son needed to be in a home where she is accepted for who she is, not one that will tell her how she should think and how she should feel. Too many courts across this country already feel emboldened to allow the state to what amounts to basically kidnapping children from their parents if they're non-affirming parents. No allegations of abuse, neglect, nothing. You just say, my son was born a boy and he is a boy. He, him. Sorry, you lost custody. They've tried this before, it didn't work. They're trying it again. We live in a very screwed up world, my friends, a very screwed up world. Got a great story about a Biden-appointed judge who apparently does not know what easy words like shall means. Oh, man. Sometimes these stories just write themselves. Judge Diana Douglas argues that because the government previously declined to enforce a law, Miko's getting involved in this one. Because the government previously declined to enforce a law, now they say you can't enforce the law anymore. Rather important recent immigration decision by the Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit of the U.S. Two of the judges, Edith Jones and Kyle Duncan, did what judges are supposed to do. They applied federal law exactly as it is written. Third judge, Biden appointee Dana Douglas, ignored the law. And just did her own thing. The Dishonorable Judicial Conduct Award for judges who refuse to follow the law and instead decide they are above the law and they're going to twist it to their own wants and needs. Judge Douglas has earned the very first one. Trump admin trying to do what the president promised when he was running for office, enforcing our immigration laws. The effect on the southern border has been obviously spectacular. But the admin has also been rounding up some of the millions, especially criminal aliens, who've been allowed to enter the country illegally. Aliens who admit they are entering the country illegally. They entered years ago, challenged their detention, and here they stay, continuing to break our laws. This relevant statute, reform passed in 1996, is crystal clear. An alien who is not clearly and beyond a doubt entitled to be admitted shall be detained pending his removal proceeding. I'm reading directly from the law. Not maybe, not might be or possibly be. It says shall be. Now, not to find a point on here, but shall means shall. Apparently, these illegal aliens just don't believe the law applies to them. They insist entitled to bond hearings so they can be released, avoid detention altogether, waiting for their immigration hearings. And it should be very plain to anybody who can read that statute, like I just did. The statute simply does not say what they want it to say. Sorry, it ain't there. Fifth Circuit majority did their judicial due diligence, examining the relevant provisions and structure of the 1996 law, as well as their statutory history, congressional intent. Congress, they said, meant exactly what Congress clearly said in the statute. No bond hearing is required, and the government can detain an illegal alien without one. Before this 96 reform, aliens who bypassed border controls spent months or sometimes even years avoiding apprehension could seek release on bond pending deportation hearings. If you're an alien, you got stopped at an official port of entry, you were subject to mandatory detention, could not request a release on bond. And the 96 law ended this differential treatment because the old law afforded greater procedural and substantial rights to aliens who bypassed entry procedures. Why? Congress initially wrote it to stop the very practice that now these aliens are demanding. That changed with the Trump administration. Decision last summer by the Board of Immigration Appeals emphasized that staying illegally in the U.S. for a lengthy period of time following entry without inspection by itself does not constitute an admission. You don't get a free ride ticket. Fifth Circuit majority obviously concluded the plain language of the statute shall be detained. Supportive legislative history means that detained aliens are not entitled to a bond hearing. It's right there. Judge Douglas, however, was having none of it, raged against both the majority and the government for their efforts to detain millions of illegal aliens. Some of them spouses, mothers, fathers, and grandparents of American citizens, she cries. Judges have no authority to make decisions based on personal observations. No matter how evocative it might be, you do not have that authority, babe. She never acknowledged, let alone addressed, the fact that the law does not say that if you entered the country illegally, you're entitled to stay here if you're somehow related to an American citizen. That ain't in there either. How, you might ask, did Douglas justify ignoring the very plain language of this statute? The fact the statute has never been applied this way by the government, and that this is her, overwhelming majority of courts in this circuit and elsewhere don't support the government's position. So she said that means we should ignore it now. No, she actually wrote that. Her argument is that because the government previously declined to enforce a law as it's written, then somehow you can't enforce it going forward. Does this make any sense to you? She believes the government's past enforcement negligence apparently gives her the license to create a provision which requires a bond hearing that Congress not only did not put there, but they explicitly rejected it. Oh, but you didn't enforce it in the past, so you can't enforce it now. Idiots! We have idiots on the bench. I mean, you already kind of knew that, but if you needed any more proof, there you go. Here's a weird one. When I say Netflix, you say what? Yeah, I know. Apparently, according to this story, Netflix stood up to the woke mob and they won. No secret, today in Hollywood, artistic risk taking often comes second to woke ideology conformity. That's pretty obvious. Censorship, virtue signaling, overprescribed outrage become show business as usual. Studios are tripping over themselves to inject far left political messaging into about just every single script they write, every award show, which have now become nothing short of just lectures. The industry's obsession has created a climate where self-censorship is now the norm. And challenging the narrative is a very big career hazard. But amidst all this tyranny that is the woke outrage mob, one major player has shown a remarkable level head of resistance. While Hollywood studios, streaming platforms, even sports leagues are scrambling to appease progressive activists, Netflix has actually taken a different path, defending free expression and refusing to cave in to censorship demands. Dave Chappelle, great example. Back in 2021, the left went cuckoo over his Netflix special called The Closer, accused him of transphobia, demanding it be removed from the platform. Netflix employees, remember that? They staged a walkout. Activist groups all piled on. The media treated it like some moral emergency. Most companies would have folded. Netflix, they didn't budge. Did not budge an inch. Good on you, Netflix. And I find it very weird that I'm sitting here saying this about Netflix. They didn't just keep Chappelle. Most companies would not have come close. They just would have dumped the show. Netflix doubled down. They released 2 new specials from Chappelle since that one. He remains one of Netflix's most bankable stars, proving that it is audiences, not activists, who should decide what's worth watching. Another example, Ricky Gervais, love the guy. Back in 2022, his special Supernature ignited a huge frenzy from the woke mob around jokes about transgender women. Again, activists demanding Netflix pull the special, and again, Netflix stood its ground. Sarandos publicly defended Gervais, who has since released 2 more specials on Netflix, Armageddon and Morality. Tony Hinchcliffe, known for his very sharp-edged humor, Hinchcliffe went viral after some of the jokes he told at a rally for Trump. But Netflix didn't just keep working with him, they expanded the partnership, ordering 3 Kill Tony specials and an additional stand-up, which is a very clear message that Netflix is not going to blacklist talent simply because they offended some progressive sensitivities. Amazing Netflix. Other entertainment companies have compromised their values to tap into the lucrative Chinese market. Netflix refused. Sarandos has openly said the company has 0 presence in China because its shows would not pass that country's censorship board without cuts, and they won't do it. We're one of the rare companies, he said, in the U.S. that has no exposure to China's censorship, taxes, tariffs, anything, he explained. In a world where Disney edits films to appease Beijing and the NBA tiptoes around all the human rights abuses to protect their market share, Netflix basically said, off, refuses to bend the knee. I love this. Look, it's true conservatives will not love every piece of content on Netflix. That's for damn sure. But the presence of this programming that attracts a progressive audience doesn't change the fact that Netflix consistently refuses to censor material because it offends leftist sensibilities. Too bad, too sad. Company's proven it understands something vital. Free speech matters. And the audience, not activists, should decide what's worth watching. Go Netflix. Look, like I said, there's a lot of crap on that network. But credit where credit's due. This company ain't putting up with it. Good on you, Netflix. Hey, we're done. We're out of here. Dan Bongino coming up next at 10. I'll be back tomorrow for the Thursday edition. Be sure and check out all of our great specials from our companies that help support this show. They are in the show notes. Click on the little show more. It'll expand down. You'll see Patriot Mobile and Blackout Coffee and Brickhouse Nutrition. Check them out. Make a purchase. If you just want to donate some money to the show, there's a PayPal link there. You can do that too. We'd appreciate it. We need the money. I got to buy some new equipment around here. All right. Thanks, folks. We will be back again, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the Jay Sheldon Show.